So that.
Good. I made everybody sing for their dinner, Chris.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I had ours. I was gonna play it off the phone.
Into the microphone?
Yeah, but we never got called and we were getting hungry.
You guys are getting up, yeah, like screw it.
We just got executive.
There you go.
Picture.
Of the serenades.
Ooh.
Yeah, I started. Call the meeting to order. Nikki, please note the roll.
Any emails?
No.
Is there any public comment? See none, we'll move on. Move on to the consent agenda items. First is going to be the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Directors held on November 2nd of 2022. Also, the closed session of the Board of Directors held on November 2nd of 2022. The regular meeting of the Michigan South Central Power Agency Board of Commissioners held on October 13th of 2022. Also, the work session of the Michigan South Central Power Agency Board of Commissioners held on October 13th of 2022. Also included is the departmental reports of the Board of Public Utilities, operation reports, and financial statements for October of 2022, the bills and accounts for period ending November 30th of 2022, the power supply cost projections, the MERS defined benefit pension plan statement for quarter ending September 30th of 2022. Anything we need to discuss on that? Seeing none, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll support.
Got a motion support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Moving on to the regular agenda. First is going to be the 21-22 audit presentation by Tom Eldridge and Paul Plant.
Good evening. So like I pretty much say every year, we got the presentation, and then within your packet, you've got a near final draft of the audited financial statements. Obviously, I encourage you all to go through those, all 75 pages worth. But if that's too much, then please read through the MD&A section, which is right up in the front. That is only 15 pages, and it's masterfully written. So go through there. It is more centric to the general government, but it does give you an overall snapshot of where the city is at this point in time. And so with that, I'll introduce Paul Plant from Taylor, Plant and Watkins.
Well, good evening. Thanks, Tom. And for those of you who don't, I know most everybody on the board, but I am Paul Plant from Taylor, Plant and Watkins. I've been here a few years now. So it's always seems to be kind of the same presentation, but things obviously change throughout the year. As the layman's term, clean audit opinion. So we didn't find any findings, nothing to suggest on everything. And as Tom said, the MD&A, which is written by Tom and his staff, we review it obviously for number, but that's actually written by him for a review of the year. So that is very informative and summarizes what's gone on throughout the year if you don't want to look through those numbers. And again, I'll give Tom and his staff are great. So we'll give him credit also for the presentation. He always puts this together for me, which is really helpful with the notes and to see what's going on throughout the year. So we'll start with the electric fund cash. You can see there, the cash is up a little bit compared to last year. You guys did receive $1.6 million from Clemens for upgrades for the electrical system, and that money is going to get reinvested back in for infrastructure projects coming up. So it does show you have a little bit of cash, but it's going out right behind it. And then there was 18 acres on Willowbrook that was sold that also contributed to that cash of about $540,000. And when we move to the next slide, you'll see that, and the electric fund staying there. Power sales were up about $2 million in this fund. And then industrial usage was up over 5% from 2021. So that attributed to that. 2021 looks better, or 2022, excuse me, looks better financially than 2021 because really what happened was you guys elected not to pass on some market increased cost on power that happened during COVID. So that's why the numbers look a little better in this year. And also don't forget that Willowbrook property sales also included in there. So that does bump the numbers up a little bit on that portion. The last one would just be the net revenue. So again, you show a little bit of an increase in the net revenue for the next structure, for the next slide there. moving on to telecommunications cash. This is always my favorite one. We don't have the negative slide anymore that used to show up with all the negative cash on there. There's some depreciation in there. So you had positive cash flow, but 200,000 that loss, which we'll get to on the next stage, that does include $360,000 worth of depreciation on equipment. So it's a non-cash transaction, but that's why you end up with the cash in there. This slide here, kind of the highlights are the increase on the new fiber system, which I'm sure you thought was coming. Got 725 customers compared to only 100 when I did this presentation last time for the last year's. There's a few skitters customers, Tom has a note on here, but they're obviously starting to fall off a little bit, and that's just a pass-through cost anyway. So it doesn't really affect anything. Your operating cost in this do include the staff for connecting on that new fiber system. And things hooked up. So again, you'll see the revenue, that was the slight loss we were talking about, even though you have an increase in cash. Water fund, the cash increase in 2022, you had 643,000 approximately of additions in infrastructure. 620 of that was Sauk River. So that was a big portion of it. And again, I'm going to say the same thing on wastewater fund. You guys are trying to build up some cash here because we know there's some infrastructure coming down the road that's going to need to be replaced and corrected and built. So that's the note we have in here on this particular slide. Revenues and expenditures in this, 2.9% overall rate increase. That was effective 7/1/21, so that helps to lead some of these increases. That's basically what I have for this slide, considering what we were talking about. You guys are trying to build up some cash to do the infrastructure. And then you'll see the net revenue did increase in the water fund for 2022. And again, we're talking about 630, 2022, which I think you're all aware. Wastewater cash. We're continuing to build cash in here for a replacement of equipment, wastewater plant. Future debt payments are going to need it for that wastewater debt, which I'm sure you might have to go out and get. You probably won't be able to fund it all. So you can see that cash is increasing that fund. And then if you look at the revenue and expenditures in here, again, 1.9 overall rate increase, that was effective 7/1/2021. And the costs seem to stay pretty close to what they were in prior years. It's just you guys are trying to increase that cash for future projects. With that is my presentation. I didn't know that anybody has any letters. That particular letter just is a management letter that's up there on the screen. It just explains what we looked at and what was the overall management. We're now required, we have been for several years now, to give that in writing, because just standing up here saying it, people didn't necessarily understand. So it's all in writing now. We don't see anything changing just to the future. It's interesting. I was just talking with Tom about this. The only thing I will comment on is ARPA funds, which is the stuff that the federal government gave out to everybody. It looks like they're going to let us get away with a one-time letter. If that is, usually you'd have a single audit. So we'd have to go through all those expenditures, test your controls in that, and figure out if you've complied. It's a lot bigger audit than the single audit. Looks like if that's the only thing you have over the 750,000 in expenditures that make you qualify for a single audit, they're going to let us do a compliance, is what they call it. So we'll just look and say, yep, they complied with spending the money. You're good. We just write a letter to the state. And so it's nice for most townships and city, because that's really the only amount that's going to push you over. Saves you a little bit of money, hopefully, too, in the audit. So single audits are getting crazy, which I say every year. But they're really cracking down on what we do with those single audits, so federal funds. Any questions?
I don't think so. Thanks,
Again,
Paul.
thank
Appreciate
you
it.
very much. I appreciate it.
Next is going to be the SEP award. Bob Granger, please.
Good afternoon. Paul had asked me to come tonight and talk to you about the Smart Energy Provider designation we recently received. So I wanted to go back a little bit, because we first received this actually when COVID hit. This is our second designation. It's the same designation. We've added a few things, and I just wanted to show you the designation. The first plaque looks identical to this. The dates are different. We had looked at this a few years ago and decided we weren't prepared to attempt to go for this designation. And then, so we adjusted some of our goals and efforts and we're able to achieve it. And this is the second time we've done it. We're fairly proud of it. It's out of about 1,400 public utilities in the American Public Power Association. There's only 101 that have received that designation. And although spearheaded through our energy efficiency program, it engulfs our whole organization from IT to customer service. So we had to look at everything as a big picture and how we're dealing with our customers. And you know, so it moves on. But the four criteria are smart energy information, energy efficiency and distributed energy resources, environmental and sustainability programs and initiatives, and communication, education, and customer experience. So those are the four, the four practices that the judge is on. And so initially it took quite a while to come up with the application and fill it out. The second time around, some of the information hadn't changed, but we have to, you know, each time we apply, we're going to have to add some points to our score to keep being eligible. So it's been something that I think we're committed to. You know, we're proud that the board, you know, has usually helped us when we have asked to do something. A lot of times it's for these efforts, you know, if whether it's we're looking at an EV rate or for, you know, or whatever we are looking at, a lot of these efforts go towards these, this criteria as well. So it's fairly simple. I think there's 40 public utilities in the state and we're one of 3 that have that designation in Michigan. So it's not a huge group, it's growing. Part of our efforts of getting this designation helps other utilities that want to look at best practices and how maybe they can acquire it too. So it's nice to be recognized, and you know, I'm glad and proud to be up here saying, hey, we did it again. So
Good job, Bob.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
any questions?
Nope.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night. Next on the agenda is the APPA Marketing Awards presentation. Abby?
Thank you. As previously mentioned, I'm here today to discuss the CBPU's Awards of Excellence in Public Power Communications. Okay. So earlier this year, our marketing department applied for the American Public Power Association's Excellence in Public Power Communications Awards. We applied for the web and social media category and to the video category, with our utility entering under Class D. And you can see the evaluation criteria on this slide. So when we submitted our application, we pulled our content from our Powered by People campaign. The campaign began with some preliminary research that helped us determine that we have a broad target audience between the ages of 18 and 70 years old and in the lower to middle socioeconomic class. Our research helped us identify 3 main purposes for the campaign, which we then utilized to create 16 intentional social media posts, optimize our website capabilities, and produce 2 in-house videos. Please direct your attention to the screen for a quick viewing of our media content. The sound is working.
People, we are your community. We are the CBPU, and we are public power.
I'm working in my hometown, and we can recruit people that go to a local vocational center and bring them into our facility, and they stay with us.
When private companies want profit, we want connections. We provide reliable and affordable public utilities to the city of Coldwater. Electric, water, telecommunications. We've got you covered. We proudly sponsor local organizations, events, and community projects, furthering initiatives that make your lives better. Our people are your people. Join the CBPU today to stay community-powered and community-focused. Call 517-279-9531 to get started. Public Utilities is powered by people, providing public services such as electric, water, and telecommunications. The employees of the CBPU live and work in your community.
I've been with the company for a little over 32 years now.
I've been here 23 years.
We're going on 2 years now.
Because of this, CBPU employees care about their customers. They work for their neighbors, family, and their friends.
We work and live in the same community as them, so you can see them all the time. It's great to be able to offer them services in a timely manner.
The CBPU is proud to be powered by your community because this is public power. These are the people of Coldwater, and we are the CBPU. Call 517-279-9531 to stay community powered and community focused.
Okay. All right. So then once the campaign was launched, we needed to evaluate the success of our efforts. So I know that this slide is called By the Numbers, and we are focusing on evaluation, but I wanted to take a quick second to show you some of our research visually. The rectangular boxes on the left show the different segments within our 49036 zip code. They give us a better understanding of the lifestyle habits of our customer base, and the bright green chart at the bottom shows the income range for our residents. The other numbers on this page show our campaign was a success. We reached over 5,000 people through our social media materials, had over 5 notable shares, retweets, and inquiries from American Municipal Power, the American Public Power Association, the Michigan Municipal Electric Association, and others, and had 21,000 new users find our website through organic search. We are showing that our marketing efforts have improved our digital footprint and have had a real impact on the CBPU. Looking at the data from video 1, you can tell that our video performed best on Facebook. And then next slide, please. And then the same is also true for video 2. So both videos performed the best on Facebook. When all of this information was combined, the APPA awarded the CBPU with 2 awards of excellence in public power communications. We won in both categories that we applied for, so both the web and social media category and the video category. And we are thankful that our Powered by People campaign was recognized on a national level. We are looking forward to furthering the CBPU's impact through our marketing efforts. And if anybody has any questions, I would love to take them right now. Any questions?
No, we appreciate all your hard work. Next on the agenda is the Clemens Second Circuit Project. Andrew, enlighten us.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I'll apologize for having to follow Abby. I'm not as eloquent as her, but I'll try my best for you. So today I'm going to be talking about the Clemens Secondary Circuit. Clemens right now is currently fed through the Jonesville substation off of a single existing 13.8 kV distribution circuit. They have requested a second circuit to their facility for increased reliability, as well as giving them increased ampacity to expand their facility. We are currently looking at designing, or have, finalized the design for a 900 amp circuit that would be constructed on the east side of Fisk Road, coming from the Jonesville substation to their facility. We looked at a couple of different options, and that was the best efficiency between cost and increased reliability for them. We have gotten approval from Clemens to proceed with the project, so we are getting updated pricing on materials, hoping to have that by the end of the year. We have predicted that the materials will have anywhere from a 40 to 50 week lead time, so not expecting to have that until Q4 of 23. We're also evaluating whether or not this is work that Coldwater can perform in-house rather than getting a contractor. Something that John and I believe that our guys are more than capable of doing. We'll be able to lower the cost of the project. As I mentioned, this is something that we are doing for Clemens. This is something that Coldwater will pay for upfront, but Clemens will end up reimbursing on the back end once the project is complete. Just due to managing the construction of the project makes more sense that way. We are anticipating that the cost of the project will be around $670,000. That does include a 20% contingency, roughly $100,000, as well as about $40,000 in engineering costs. We are anticipating construction to be wrapped up by middle of '24, once materials have been received. So with that, does anybody have any questions?
Just a secondary feed out of the same substation.
Correct. It'll be on the opposite side, so it'll be fed by a different transformer, but would allow them to eventually be able to essentially double the size of their facility electrically. I will also say that this is the first phase in a couple of different phases that'll happen. So once this circuit is in service, we will reconductor the existing feed. It's currently rated for about 700 amps. We'll upgrade that to match at 900, which will allow Clemens to switch between either source. They will operate with them both in parallel or both in operation. So if there's a loss of power, they won't be affected as they'll have a different source. That would be planned sometime in late '24 or '25 once this has been completed. Again, that cost will be covered by Clemens as well.
Any additional questions for Andrew? Okay. So what we're looking for is whether we want to approve the Clemens Second Circuit project for a cost not to exceed $669,408. What is the liking of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the METC Standard Pole Attachment License Agreement. Turn it over to you, Utility Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. So at our October board meeting, we approved the agency agreement between CBPU and METC for us to act as their agent to enforce third-party pole attachment agreements and be able to keep that revenue as part of our cost of doing business. So the next step in this is to approve the third-party attachment agreement with CBPU Fiber to go ahead and allow us, which we're already attached to the poles, but to clean up the work a little bit and attach to the poles off the standard third-party attachment agreement, which we currently have with our other telecom providers. So if you really want to look at it, it's an agreement with ourselves, but it has to be done in order to make sure that we are standardizing with everybody for that. So if you have any questions on that, I'd be more than happy to answer them, but what I'm looking for is a motion to approve the third-party attachment agreement with CBPU and METC, and CBPU acting as METC's agent.
Motion to approve the third-party agreement.
Support.
Got a motion and support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is the cost of study, service study and financial projections. Turn it back over to you, Utility Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. In November of 2020, UFS, Mark Beauchamp had come to the board to present the results of the cost of service study that was started based on 2018 data. As you know, there's been many changes in the industry, significant increasing in pricing of material, power supply costs. We've actually seen an uptick also in the usage of our customers. Typically, a cost of service study is done every 5 years, but because of these changes in the industry, as you all know, we need to look at doing something further. Just this year, we went ahead and did not approve the 2022 increases for the rates and went right to the 2023 increases because of what we were seeing in the market. So now what we're doing is suggesting another cost of service study with 2021 number or 2022 numbers to be able to give us a better financial projection for the future on the electric side. So we're asking to do a full cost of service on the electric side and a long-term financial projection on the water wastewater side, as well as to look at the telecom side as well of the business to make sure that we are doing what we need to and we're continuing to be fiscally responsible for our customers. One of the other things that we're asking UFS to do is to look at an EV rate to determine how we want to do that for some of our commercial customers that are looking at either putting in some type of EV charger, or if a business is looking at putting in an EV charger. We're also going to look at the possibility of doing a time of use rate on the residential side. We currently have a time of use rate on the commercial side or the industrial side. But one of the suggestions and one of the looks at for the industry as a whole is going to a time of use on the residential side, especially when it comes to EV chargers, more to push people with EVs to a nighttime charging to offset some of that stuff that we're seeing peak-wise during the day. So the total cost for these services not to exceed is $43,460. And I'd be happy to answer any questions as we move forward with this. And if not, I'd be asking for board approval to move forward with this. One of the things talking with Mark and his group is that we are looking at having this all completed prior to the budget year so that any rate increases would show up in the actual budget itself.
Is this something we asked them to do, or did they approach us? And said
We had reached out to them to see what was going on in the industry and what we were looking at doing earlier in the year when we decided to skip the 2022 year and go to the 2023 year. We consulted with Mark to find out, is that a good idea based on what we're seeing for our expenditures and what we're seeing for future power supply protections?
Do we know what we paid for that service back in 2020?
I believe we looked at it, it was right around $40,000, mid 30s to 40s, and Tom would know for sure.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but we did look into it and it's consistent. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any additional questions about the study? Need a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll support.
Got a motion and support? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is the project 5 discussion.
So as you know, back in 2021, the board had given the BPU director the authorization to continue pursuing the Project 5, which is a 50 megawatt gas-fired plant in Coldwater, of which I believe Coldwater was taking around 40 megawatts or 39 megawatts of that 50 megawatts that was going to be divided up between Hillsdale, Clinton, and a little bit on Marshall. So what has happened since then is market conditions and supply chain issues have caused the project cost to go up 35% from June of 21 to November of 22. We're also looking at the commercial operation date of being pushed back to the 25-26 timeframe, which kind of hurts us a little bit in the capacity market. So the board made a decision at the last week's MSCPA meeting to discontinue moving forward with Project 5. We're currently looking at other options of what we can do to offset some of those capacity needs and energy needs, where they're going to be looking at some top possibility of additional market purchases. They're also looking at the possibility of putting some smaller engines scattered throughout the territory of each of the entities. But what I felt it was best to give you guys a little update in case you have any questions regarding, hey, I haven't heard anything about Project 5, where's that at? But right now, Project 5 is pretty much a DOA based on the pricing and the push out of supply chain issues that we're looking at. And the crazy thing is right now with anything, they're only giving you 60 to 90 days to lock in a decision in order to keep those pricings moving forward. The other big expense too that we just found out about 2 months ago had to do with the negotiations of the interconnection agreement with ITC, which that price went up. It's a little over $4 million right now. And if we decided to move forward, we'd have to come up with about $1 million in February to move forward with the project. But from a financial perspective and an economic perspective, it does not make sense to continue pursuing this cost. I just want to make sure that you guys were aware of that and answer any questions that you may have regarding that.
Any alternatives or any thoughts as to what we may want to do, or?
So we are currently pursuing the potential of some scattered diesel units throughout the territory. We're also looking at market purchases. There's some larger entities that are looking at changing out to gas plants, larger gas plants. So we're in constant conversation with them to determine can we do it and will it fit into what our portfolio needs are? We're also going to continue pursuing renewables. We're going to be looking at a little bit more on the Lopez property, as you're aware of that. Andrew and I have had a conversation. We've actually been pursued by a few of our larger industrial customers about the need for renewable energy and renewable energy credits. So we may look at the possibility of doing some type of community solar and selling the output of that directly to our industrials. So that may be an option in the future. So we're trying to keep all of our doors open to figure out what's going to be the best for us to keep those pricing as low as possible.
Thank you.
How much money have we invested in Project 5 at this point?
Right, a little bit under $300,000.
We get any of that back, or is that just gone?
It's all gone. It's all been put into engineering costs and everything else as well. One of the questions that I did ask at the meeting is there any value in any of the permitting that we've already gone through? And the answer to that question was no, there's really nothing there. There would be if we would allow someone else to use those permits and put in a plant and then sell us back the energy at a higher cost than what we can put it in to begin with. And like I said, the economics just didn't work out for it.
Okay, is there any public comment? Moving on to new business. Now on to the director's report.
Now on to the director's report. Next one. So our power cost adjustment for the month is 0.1354, and for secondary meters it's 0.01395, which is about 0.003 cents less than what it was last month. And a lot of that has to do with gas supply costs. Just looking at it today, the projections for the future of gas is between $4 and $5 over the next year and a half. Now, if you believe that, we've got bridges to sell you as well too. As right now, one of the projections is that natural gas pricing is probably going to go up a little bit more in January and February as the colder weather hits, and that normally will drive up the pricing as well too. On the personnel issue, Andrew Alt has accepted a job in Lansing. He started yesterday, and we're happy to say that he actually did make it there, and he is still working there. So all the more power to him, and we wish him all the best of luck. We also did receive a vehicle, a hybrid vehicle for the wastewater fleet. Just to let you know, this vehicle is budgeted in 2020 as to be a Ford Lightning, an all-electric vehicle. However, they kept on pushing it off. So one of the things that we ended up doing is when we started inquiring about it, they said, look, if you want still to get the Lightning, you have to reorder it in 2023. We can't guarantee when it will be there. It would be 2025, 2026, 2027. We're not 100% sure. So we took the opportunity to get a vehicle that is a hybrid, part battery, part gas, which will actually help us in our fleet as well to help to eliminate some of our carbon footprint. We're expecting 24 miles to the gallon, and it has been put in service. It also allows us to not have to sometimes drag out a generator if we just need to plug in something for a drill or a light or something like that. It has a 120 volt outlet in the back of the bed, so it allows some flexibility there. And we still are pursuing some additional electric vehicles and such. It's just a matter now, it's all supply chain and getting all that in there. On the internet note, we did receive notice that Skidder TV has announced their annual increases. And this is just a pass-through cost to our customers, and more information will be supplied on the bills, but just to let everyone know that. An exciting thing, in January of 2023, the city and CBPU are looking at starting a Citizens Academy. This Citizens Academy will allow residents to participate in roughly a 6-month adventure to allow them to learn more about city government, budgeting, utility and services that are provided to them, as well as public safety. We're looking at meeting once or twice per month, and maybe for an hour and a half to 2 hours. They'll go through and actually tour some of our facilities. And the hope is with the Citizens Academy is to inform our residents as far as what we do and how we do it. We're also hoping that, as you guys decide that you want to finish your board stint, that it may interest someone else who wants to get more involved in either city government or the boards and stuff that we offer to that to bring new blood in and bring new ideas. But it's more of an educational purpose. So if your neighbor says, hey, I don't understand this, they're more informed to be able to say, well, this is why we do that. So it's one of those educational things. Also, a big shout out to the city and BPU employees for donating over $3,500 to the local food bank, which is a great benefit. Also, save the date. January 28th is Winterfest. It will be held at Heritage Park and the Recreational Center. More details to come, but I know there's information on the website or going to be on the website shortly. So we expect to see a whole lot of people there. I keep on asking Julie when she's going to start making snow so we can start going down sledding hill. The city calendar, and I'd be happy to say that we just went through the final draft. So we are 100% done. It will be going to the printer shortly. And this year it will be distributed by the U.S. Postal System. There were some delays and some issues with the shopper. So it's easier just to send it out this way. And then any extras that do not get sent out will be here at City Hall for distribution on a first come, first served basis. And with that, just to give a couple updates as far as when we'll be closed, December 23rd and 26th, and December 30th and January 2nd, the city offices and BPU facilities will be closed in observation of Christmas and New Year's. And I want to take this opportunity to wish all of our residents and customers a very Merry Christmas, a happy holiday, and a healthy and prosperous New Year. And that is my report, other than we do have two thank yous, one from the Tibbetts and one from Dave Howell regarding installation of his fiber services.
How many fiber customers do we have right now?
We are right under, and Brian's not here, we're right, and Pat's here, we're just over 900 if I saw the latest report for the end of November.
Based on the schedule we have right now, we're somewhere like 970, but we will hit 1,000 before the beginning of the year based on the schedule right now.
So then early next year, we'll be at our break-even point that we wanted to get to.
1,200 was the breaking point. So yeah, I expect that probably in February, March, somewhere in there.
Right. We can have a celebration when we hit that number.
I don't know. Just ask him. I'll be there if they do.
Okay, date of the next meeting?
Wednesday, January 4th, 2023.
Anything else before we adjourn?
Is everybody good with that, though? They can be in town, do they think?
I think so. There's nothing else? We're adjourned.